So good morning, guys. So we were discussing a chapter from the book Fundamentals of Human Geography, and we were discussing about primary activities. We have covered a small portion of it, and we reached pastoralism and pastoral nomadism, and we will be continuing from that. Okay. So I think you know what is nomadic herding and all, and what sort of thing is that. Actually, pastoral nomadism is done for the purpose of fulfilling their basic necessities of food, shelter and all, right? And they are mainly depending upon the particular types of animals, because it's actually rearing of animals, right? So it can be cattle, goats, sheep and whatever, okay? So that's the thing about nomadic herding, okay? Now, pastoral nomadism is associated with three important regions. So we were discussing about pastoral nomadism, and if we take pastoral nomadism, it is not seen everywhere in the world. So there are a particular region, there are some particular region where pastoral nomadism is practiced. So let's see which are the places. The core region extends from Atlantic shores of North Africa eastwards across the Arabian Peninsula into Mongolia and central China. So the first region covers the Atlantic shores. Okay, it extends from the Atlantic shores. Here there is a map. You can just see this area. Okay, this is the area. It just extends from that Atlantic shores of Africa and moves to Asia. You know, after Asia, it just moves on to China. And here it is Mongolia, and this is China. This is Mongolia, and this is China. So this is the extension. This is the first part. Okay, this is the first set of region where we can see pastoralism. Okay, nomadism means pastoral nomadism. Okay, now going into the second region, it extends over the tundra region of Eurasia. It extends over the tundra region of Eurasia. In the southern hemisphere, there are small areas in southwest Africa and on the island of Madagascar. So, in the southern hemisphere also we can find some region. The same way we can go to the second region first. The second region covers the tundra region. Actually, tundra region of Eurasia is this portion. Okay, this is tundra region. Now, what is the peculiarity of this region? This is coming in the northern hemisphere, yeah, and this is actually Arctic. The region is Arctic, and you know the specifications of Arctic region. It's always snow covered throughout the year. There won't be any rainfall. There won't be any trees, and the climate will be always cold, and it will be windy. And this is tundra region. That is tundra region. You can understand the concept of tundra region, right? It's actually in Arctic, always snow covered, no trees, no rainfall. Always the climate is always cold and windy. Okay, so this region is the second region where we can see pastoral nomadism, and the third also we can just find some patches are also in the Madagascar. This is Madagascar. You can see some region of Madagascar also we can find pastoral nomadism, and in the south part of Africa, that is the regions are like Angola, Namibia. Then, some portions of South Africa, Botswana. These are some of the countries, okay. You guys have to do one thing. You have to keep this map. And with this map, you have to take a political map of the world. And you have to see the countries which cover this region. Okay, which are the countries which are coming under this particular region. So there may be many countries, as I have told over here. These countries are like some of the countries in south part of Africa. That is Botswana, Angola, Namibia, South Africa. You can just find in the same way I told that this is Mongolia. You know, this is China and all. So you can just find the countries also. So you can just easily identify if you get a map that okay, these regions we can see pastoral nomadism. Okay. So these are the three places or three regions where we can find pastoral nomadism or nomadic herding we can see. Okay. Then movement in search of pastures is undertaken either over vast horizontal distances or vertically from one elevation to another in the mountain region. So in the mountainous region, what happens? The movement, because all this movement is based upon pastures, right? Because the main thing the main activity involved in pastoral nomadism is rearing of animals, right? So the purpose of rearing of how rearing of animals is taken care of. The main thing which is needed for pastoral nomadism is pastures, because animals need places for grazing. So the main thing what they want is pastures. So in search of pastures is undertaken either over vast horizontal distances or vertically from one elevation to another in mountainous regions. So their movement is in this way. The process of migration from plain areas, you have to note it down, okay. The process of migration from plain areas to pastures on mountains during summers, and again from mountain pastures to plain areas during winter, is known as transhumance. This is an important point. It can come for your exams, okay. So you have to note this stuff, because it will definitely, this question will be coming for your exam, because most of the CBSE exam this question is being asked. What do you mean by transhumance? So transhumance is a process of migration from plain areas to pastures on mountains during summers, and again from mountain pastures to plain areas during winters. This is known as transhumance, okay. So actually what happens during summer? During summertime, the people they just move from the plain areas and move on to the mountainous region, okay, during summers, okay. For the purpose is for grazing or for finding the pastoral land. The same way during winter, they just come from mountains to plain area, okay, mountains to plain areas during winters. This is called transhumance, okay. We can just say that it's a seasonal movement of livestock. We can say like that. It's a seasonal movement of livestock from one grazing ground to another, and it happens in a seasonal cycle. So it's a movement of livestock, okay. It's a movement of livestock from one grazing ground to another in search of pastures, okay. In the same way, or grazing land. In the same way, it's a seasonal process, okay. It happens seasonally, right? Okay. In mountain regions such as Himalayas, Gujars, Bakkarwalas, Gaddis, Bhotias migrate from plains to the mountains in summers and to the plains from the high altitude pastures in winters. So you can see, if you take the case of Himalaya, there are some tribes. These are actually nomads. You know what can we say, that they are pastoral nomads, okay. So what happened? They are mainly the herders of goats and sheep. These Gujars and Bakkarwalas. This Gujars, and it's not Bakkarwalas, it's actually Bakrawalas. You know, Bakrawala means, what is Bakra? Bakra is a Hindi word, you know, Bakra means goat. So Bakrawalas, then Gujars. They are mainly seen in Rajasthan. They may be, there are different people, like it is different in different areas actually. They may be Sikhs, they may be Muslims, and they may be Kshatriyas and all. So these people are that type particular group. And Gaddis, this is not that Trishur Gaddis, okay. This is Gaddis, okay. And this Gaddis are mainly seen in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. And Bhotias are actually from Uttarakhand, okay. They are from Uttarakhand. So these are some of the different tribes or groups of people. They are actually nomads only, like nomadic herders, okay, of sheep, goats and all, okay. So their seasonal movement is similar, as we have discussed above. Also the same thing happens with them also. For example, they migrate from plains to mountains during summers, okay. In the same way, they just move from, during winter, they just move from high altitude to plain areas, okay. Similarly, in the tundra regions, the nomadic herders move from south to north in summers and from north to south in winter. So in tundra region also, due to the climatic variation, during winter season, what they do, they just move from north to south, and during summer season, they will move to south to north, okay. It's the change in the seasonal climate, because during high winter extreme climate, they can't just survive over there. So what they do, they will just come over to the south region. In the same way, when winter comes, when summer comes, what happens due to summer season? What they do, they will just move on to the northern part. Okay, this is what happens in the tundra regions. Okay. Now, the number of pastoral nomads has been decreasing and the areas operated by them shrinking. So day by day, what's happening? The number of nomads, okay, the pastoral nomads have been decreasing. The area operated them is also shrinking. What is the reason for that? It's due to imposition of political boundaries and new settlement plans by different countries. Political boundaries are now becoming a critical thing of debate on every country. Whichever country we can see which is not an island, like Australia, they don't have to think about anything. But the countries like India and all, we are facing every day. We are facing some problem regarding our boundaries. Even some parts of India, which we believe that its Indian part is not ours now. Some of the countries are trying to encroach into our country. They are trying to take away the part which is meant for. Even in future, sometime it will happen that the Indian map which we are seeing today won't be available. Sometimes we won't be having that upper part. Sometimes that Jammu and Kashmir can be taken away by someone else, but we won't let that happen. But still, that's happening. That's happening because India is a country who loves peace. They don't want to hurt anyone. They don't want to go to war. They don't want anybody, any of the country to go in a bad situation due to problem because of them. So that's the problem. That's the thing which India is facing. The problem. I'm just mentioning the problem with China. Okay, what they are doing. Before it was Pakistan, but now it's China. From both sides, India is facing this problem. So because of all these reasons, the political boundaries and everything has become a big problem. In the same way, the countries have their own new settlement plans, okay. So the number of people who are engaged in these types of activities are also been reducing because all these things have been outdated. So now novel types of things are coming up, okay. So that's the reason for this, okay. Now, so nomadic herding is over. Now we will be moving on to commercial livestock rearing. So what is commercial livestock rearing? Unlike nomadic herding, commercial livestock rearing is more organized and capital intensive. Okay. So it's not similar to that of nomadic herding. Commercial livestock rearing is more organized. It is much more organized and also capital intensive. It is capital intensive. It is nothing like that for the survival for getting basic necessities of life. They are doing this. This is mainly for this have a commercial purpose, right? This have a commercial purpose and it is done in an organized way. Commercial livestock ranging is essentially associated with Western cultures and is practiced on permanent ranges. So it is mainly seen in the Western countries. Okay, these are mainly seen in the Western countries. Okay, these are not mainly seen in the parts of which we have shown over here. The parts in Eurasia and the North Arctic and all. This is mainly concentrated in the Western countries. Okay, and they are practiced on permanent ranges. Actually, ranges are actually big farms. Okay, they are big farms. And they are mainly seen in America, Australia and all, okay. These ranges cover large areas and are divided into number of parcels, which are fenced to regulate the grazing, okay. So, these ranches are very huge or large areas which are divided into number of parcels or number of fields or farms. And they are also then divided or delineated with the help of fences and all, because for a particular reason they will just fence a particular farm and all, because in this organized situation what they do, for example, they will be having a particular type of animal or animal rearing in a particular farm. There won't be any other animal, just a single type of animal, just a single species of animal will be reared in a particular farm. So for that reason what they do, they will just fence it up. Or for example, if it's a pasture land or grazing land, what they will do, they will just fence a particular land and they will allow their cattle or sheep or whatever to those lands, and after grazing, when the total value of that thing is over or the grazing is been done fully and the land is been there is nothing to graze in that land, what they do, they will just move on to the next land. Okay, it's not like that they will just allow animals or the animals to go onto the ground and do whatever they like. There will be some control. Okay. So when the grass of one parcel is grazed, animals are moved to another parcel. Okay. So you hope you understand this. When the grass of one parcel is grazed, animals are moved to another parcel. Okay. So the one portion of the area which is taken for grazing, when the grass in those region is over, then the animals are allowed to move to the next nearby farms. Okay. So the number of animals in a pasture is kept according to the carrying capacity for the pasture. It is not like that a small portion of land is there and all the animals are being, all the domesticated animals are sent to that particular land. It's not like that. It's according to the size of the pasture land, the animals, the number of animals which have to be given the chance to go to there is being decided. Okay. So the number of animals in a pasture is kept according to the carrying capacity of the pasture. Okay, carrying capacity of the pasture means the capacity of that pasture to provide the sufficient grass to that particular animal. Okay, so this is a specialized activity which only one type of animal is reared. Okay, as I have mentioned before, only one type of animal is reared in this type of farming. Important animals include sheep, cattle, goats, horses. Okay, so the main animals are sheep, cattle, goats and horses. Products such as meat, wool, hides and skin are processed and packed scientifically and exported to different world markets. As I have mentioned before, this is a thing which is done commercially. The main aspect or the main focus behind this type of livestock rearing or farming is business. Like they want business. Okay, they want to make products, process them and manufacture them, whatever, and after that they are going to just export this to different countries. So it is done for a commercial purpose. Okay, so rearing of animals in ranging is organized on a scientific basis. This should be important. So rearing of animals in these farms are done in a scientific way. Okay, the main emphasis on breeding. The main emphasis on breeding, genetic improvement, disease control, and health care of the animals. So the main emphasis is made on the health and the breeding and the genetic improvement and that disease control. That is health of the animals. Because these farms are the actually hubs for that we call them upgraded animals. You can say that upgraded. How can we upgrade animals? Yeah, animals and human beings and all the living beings, the plants, trees and everything can be upgraded. As we upgrade our things, we can upgrade things, or we can just no, it's not updation, it's upgradation. Like we can just use genes and DNA of different animals, and we can just get the quality of both the animals together in a single animal and all. So it's done in cattle and all. Even some cattle are there who gives lots of milk. So their genes and some genes and the DNAs are taken, and the new types of cattle have been developed. It's not like they are being developed in factories and all. It's with the help of some scientific methods and all. New course of new animals and cattle have been brought up. That's happening in these farms. Okay, all the discoveries, all the new discoveries of new animals, new breed of animals, it's called new breed of animals, is being done in these farms. Okay, so New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Uruguay, United States of America are important countries where commercial livestock rearing is practiced. So commercial livestock rearing is practiced in some of the countries like New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Uruguay and USA. Okay. Oh, there is a pic also, 5.6. We can see the map also. Yeah, here is the map. You can see the place, like Australia is there. I mean, China is also, yeah, some parts of China. See, South America, some parts of Africa, North America. These are some places where we can just see, commercial livestock also. So you'll be thinking that the same places are coming for pastoral nomadism also. Yeah, it was there, it was there. But now pastoral nomadism and all it's just been it's been what to say. The numbers has been decreasing, and everywhere development is going on. Upgradation is going on. So everything is changing, and they are just moving on to this commercial livestock stuff. Okay. Okay. You can see a pic like commercial livestock rearing, reindeer rearing in the northern regions of Alaska, where most of the Eskimos own about 2/3 of the stock. Okay, you can see commercial livestock of reindeer. You know reindeer, right? Christmas, Santa comes in those reindeers, right? It's like that, I think. Yeah, he comes in that only. Okay, okay. Alaska is in America. Okay, it's in America. Okay, fine. Okay, now we are moving to our next topic, that's agriculture. Okay, now we have finished the farming stuff, animal rearing, and we are going to agriculture. Even agriculture is also like, it's a combination of animal rearing and growing crops, okay. So agriculture is practiced under multiple combination of physical and socio-economic conditions which give rise to different types of agriculture system. So agricultural system is different in different places. Okay, we can't just say that agriculture system of India is similar to that of America, or agriculture system of China is similar to that of Australia. So everywhere the agricultural system is different. Okay, so it's based on that physical condition, like physical condition in the sense that sorry. A physical condition in the sense that the area, whether the terrain is whether it is a mountainous region or it's a plain region, so they all depends. In the same way, socio-economic condition of that particular country or particular region also defines what should be grown in that particular region. Okay, so based on methods of farming, different types of crops are grown and livestock raised. The following are the main agricultural system which we are going to see. One sec. Sorry. Okay. So first one is subsistence agriculture. Okay, we are going to discuss about subsistence agriculture. I want you guys to just underline the things which I am underlining. Okay. So subsistence agriculture is one in which the farming areas consume all. So what is subsistence agriculture? Subsistence agriculture is a type of agriculture in which the farming area consume all. What is that? Or nearly so of the products locally grown. It can be grouped into, okay. So what is subsistence agriculture? Subsistence agriculture is a type of agriculture in which the agriculture is being practiced, but it is consumed by the people or the area or the people who are living near to that farms or that agricultural field. Okay, that is subsistence agriculture. It's not like that we have discussed commercial livestock and all. It's for the commercial purpose, but this is not for commercial purpose. This is actually the yield which they get from these farms is being utilized by them itself. Okay. It can be grouped in two categories, that is primitive subsistence agriculture and intensive subsistence agriculture. So there are two types of subsistence agriculture. One is primitive subsistence agriculture, the second one is intensive subsistence agriculture. Okay, so we are going to discuss about primitive subsistence agriculture. Primitive subsistence agriculture or shifting cultivation, the other name of primitive subsistence agriculture is shifting cultivation. Okay, shifting cultivation is widely practiced by many tribes in the tropics, especially in Africa, South and Central America and Southeast Asia. So which are the places which practice primitive subsistence agriculture is tropics, especially in Africa, South and Central America, Southeast Asia. Okay, and here is map is also there. We can just see which are the countries that are facing doing this. So these are the areas where we can just find subsistence agriculture. Some part of South America is there. Mainly the countries are like Costa Rica, Panama, and Honduras. This area you can just say these are. Panama is there, Honduras is there, then Colorado, no, not Colorado. Colorado is not here actually. Then this is actually Brazil. Brazil, Argentina, and all comes in this area. In the same way, Peru, Chile, Peru, Chile and all. These are the areas. And this Africa, most part of the Africa. You can see the most part of Africa, you can see it's covered. And some Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Thailand and Malaysia, Myanmar, and all. You can see these places. Okay, these places we can see what areas of primitive subsistence agriculture. Okay. Now we are going to the main thing, how they are doing this sort of agriculture. Okay, how they are practicing this. The vegetation is usually cleared by fire and the ashes added to the fertility of the soil. So how they do this type of agriculture? The vegetation is usually cleared by fire and ashes add to the fertility of the soil. So what they do? They will select a particular area. It can be a forest. Okay, they will just clear the forest. They will just clear the forest with fire. They will use fire and they will just clear the forest. And what they do? They will just allow those ashes to stay there in the particular land, because ashes contains potash and all. Potash will increase the nutrient content in the soil. For that purpose, that land is left like that for some time, and what happens after sometimes the whole land is very much suitable for the agricultural stuff. Okay, you must have heard about humus and all. Humus is not formed like this. Even humus is also an organic component. It is formed by the decomposition of plants and leaves of plants and trees and everything. So it's a type of that thing which makes the soil much better for much suitable for agriculture. And so the vegetation is usually cleared by fire and the ashes add to the fertility of the soil. Shifting cultivation is thus also called slash and burn agriculture. Okay, the other name of shifting cultivation is slash and burn agriculture. This is also important. You guys have to note this on. Okay, this can also be asked for the exam. Okay. So the vegetation is usually cleared by fire and ashes add to the fertility of the soil. Shifting cultivation is thus also called slash and burn agriculture. Okay. So the cultivated patches are very small and cultivation is done with very primitive tools such as sticks and hoes. Yeah. They have the idea to make the soil fertile, but they are using the most primitive type of techniques or weapons or what we can say tools for doing agriculture. They are just using sticks and hoes for doing agriculture. In the same way, they are using very small patches are being used by these people for doing cultivation. Okay, so a very small patches of land is taken for doing cultivation, and they are using very primitive tools like sticks and hoes. After some time, 3 to 5 years, the soil loses its fertility and the farmer shifts to another parts and clear other patch of the forest for cultivation. See, this is the most specific thing of this type of cultivation. Why it is called primitive and all. See, what they do. After 3 to 5 years, they just concentrate on that particular land and they are just doing agriculture every year without any gap. They are doing. What happened after that? The whole land is degraded. The quality of soil is lost. And they can understand because they are not getting that particular amount of yield which they were getting before. So what they will do? They will just leave that particular land and they will just move on to the nearby land and they will just clear that stuff out and they will do the same thing. They will just burn the forest or whatever vegetation cover is over there. They will just burn it and they will just start cultivation over there. And this land is left like this. Okay, this is what happens in shifting cultivation. The name itself says that it's shifting from one patch to another. Okay, the farmer may return to the earlier patch after some time. So it can also happen. So after some years, when that particular land is also in the same have also faced the same thing which has been happened to this land, what they will do? They will just come back to that old land, because in this this period of time, what will happen? The soil can get somewhat, it can just regain its quality. It can regain its quality and all those things which is needed. So what they will do? They will just come back to this particular land for doing cultivation. This can happen, this may happen, this may happen, the chance of this is very less, okay, the people coming to the older patches, okay, again, the chance is very less. One of the major problems of shifting cultivation is that the cycle of June becomes less and less due to loss of fertility in different parcels. So, one of the major problems of shifting cultivation is that cycle of June becomes less and less due to loss of fertility in different parcels. So what happens? Every time they are just moving from one particular patch to another patch, then if that patch is also being used for 3 to 5 years, what happens? They will move on to next patch, and what happens? A particular vegetative cover is being cleared for this purpose. And the vegetative cover is cleared, okay fine, vegetative cover is cleared for the purpose of agriculture. They are doing agriculture for sustaining of their life and all, okay, we can agree with that. But what happens is that land is left barren. Then that land will not be having that quality to grow a tree or plant or whatever. That land is just left barren, and after some time it is just of no use, because the land becomes just dry and it got just degraded. So it is of no use. This is what happens in this type of cultivation, and it is called June cultivation. Why the word June is there? What is the meaning of a June? Actually, June is also an Hindi word, and June means to swing. You must have heard many songs regarding June. You can just search in YouTube, okay, June Barabar June. You can hear songs like that, okay. So this is like, I was just simply saying, okay. So June means it to swing, okay. So the swinging means to shift, like they are shifting from that patch to particular patch to this patch, okay, clearing all the vegetation cover and all, okay. So it is prevalent in tropical region in different names. So this have different names in different regions, okay. So I was also telling that about that usage of land, you know, they are not caring the land, they are not taking care of the land seriously, okay. They are just using that land and they are just leaving the land, okay. They are not doing anything for regaining the capacity, that holding capacity, that productivity of that particular soil, you know. Actual cultivation, or a good farmer, what he does is that he will cultivate a particular field for a particular time, and after that what he do? He will just, for example, he is just growing paddy, okay, he is paddy. After he has just done this stuff with paddy, what he will do? He will just grow some leguminous plant. I know that, I think that you guys know leguminous plants, okay. So these plants like peas and all, so what happens after that? Why leguminous plants are being grown? Because leguminous plants' roots have a capacity to regain the nutrient, the nitrogen which has been, nitrous oxide which has been lost, okay. They will just regain this stuff with the help of bacteria. Like name of the bacteria is Nitrobacter and Nitrosomonas, something like that, yeah. I just forgot that thing. There's something like that, the name is there, you know. So these bacteria just regain the nitrogen, okay, nitrous oxide in the soil, which will just help the soil to regain its fertility. This has to be done, but in this type of cultivation, this is nothing of this sort is being done, and what happens after some time, the land is being left, okay, and it just become barren, okay. So it is prevalent in tropical region in different names. So it is known in different names in different regions, okay. For example, it is known as Juming in northeastern states of India, Milpa in Central America. It is known as Milpa in Central America, and Milpa in Central America and Mexico. It is known as Milpa in Central America and Mexico, and Ladakh in Indonesia. So it has different names in different parts of the world. It is not like that the June cultivation or shifting cultivation is known with the same name in different parts. It means every parts, it's like different names are given in different parts. For example, Juming, as I have told you before itself, that Juming itself is an Hindi word, or it's an Indian word, you know. So Juming in northeastern states of India, Milpa in Central America and Mexico, Ladakh in Indonesia and Malaysia. So these are the name given to shifting cultivation different parts of the country. Now you guys have a work, find out other areas and the names with which shifting cultivation is done. So you guys have to do this today, and you have to WhatsApp me, okay. Find out other areas and the names with which shifting cultivation is done. You can just find in net, I think you can just search the Google and you can find some other names also of Zoom cultivation which is being practiced in different parts of the world. Okay, so guys, this is for today. Okay, hope you guys have understood the concept of commercial livestock rearing in the same way, pastoral nomadism. So we'll be discussing rest of the chapter tomorrow. Okay, so you guys have any doubt, please ask me. I'm ready to clear it at any time. Okay, so for now, thank you guys. Bye.